And the information that we were given was that was the officer that exchanged gunfire with the shooter early on when this was all happening. And there is some evidence of that on that walkway right there in front of the building. And then that was the other report, was that the actual shooter was down near the front of the building. And we're still waiting to get that 100% confirmed, but yeah, I'm still guessing that they may have had somebody in the front of that building. Right now, though, these officers, they're standing by just in case there is that person is not down, and if there is another shooter. But as we understand it right now, inside this building, it's all search and rescue, and they're bringing out the folks as soon as they find them and bringing them out to safety.
All right, Stu, it's interesting in reading some of the notes from this as well. We understand that.
Okay, so this is, I was woken up by multiple ambulance, or not ambulance, but just police. So apparently there was a shootout at this place, Borderlines Bar and Grill. I think it's actually close to here, but I'm not really IDing with the building. Apparently the guy had a beard and a mustache. Well, I have a beard and a mustache, but it's not me because I just got woke up by all this. So, yeah, I just want to do this little quick video, and I'll just keep it going, see what's going on here.
And a couple of folks come out. Some of them seem to be employees. At least that one young lady carrying what looked to be like a work apron, walking out with the law enforcement. So we're going to keep an eye on that and try to get any of the additional information of if this person is in custody, if this is a secure scene, and then of course I'm very happy to say right now is that as far as the victims go in a shooting situation at a bar, we haven't gotten any confirmation of multiple injuries, but we do have that officer, which we understand non-life threatening, but taken to Los Robles Hospital, and then of course we're hearing the exchange of gunfire, and that suspect possibly injured as well, if not.
Okay, so I usually wake up when there's ambulances cop cars nonstop sirens. So Borderlines Bar and Grill, I believe that's really close by. I'm not recognizing the picture of the bar, but anyways, the Thousand Oaks doesn't always have a lot of crime. It actually is a pretty crime-free place. But apparently, lately, as of late, we've been getting some things going on, and people do migrate from the valley and stuff and cause problems also as well. So we'll just see what's going on.
Ventura County Fire is standing by, as I had said earlier, or reported earlier, waiting for the okay from law enforcement. And that's...
Okay, can you describe what we were looking at there? There were a number of young men with no shirts on that were carrying someone out to this ambulance. Did you notice that, Stu?
I did not see that. Earlier on, there was something, like when we first arrived here, there was a group of young folks that were just in this area right here, and one or two of them had taken their shirt off.
Now this is, we're looking at Stringer video here.
That ambulances are making their way in right now to this area. They're starting to make their way over here. We also saw a canine just make their way inside the building. So that search continues.
That guy looks shot.
And, the person that is down now we're hearing that might have been a victim and not the shooter. But of course, this is all very fluid information, and things are moving very quickly, and we're working to get things confirmed as fast as possible.
Well, there's so much information to confirm,
yeah.
Steve. So let's go over what we know right now. We know what time this call went out. I know I was on my way home, so it would have to have been after 11:35, closer to midnight that we found out about this. Stu, when did you arrive on the scene?
Stu's communicating, I think, on his radio, or at least at this point.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was just asking you, Stu.
We got here. We got here probably about 11:45-ish, somewhere right there in that neighborhood. That was what we were looking at. That's one of the armored vehicles making their way over here right now, just to assist, just to be here, and the search ongoing inside that building, and we're still working to confirm if there are victims down inside. And how many people were injured or shot this evening. But right now, you can see a lot of officers still arriving out here to this location. The original call, mass shooting at a bar. And then, of course, one law enforcement officer that was shot and taken to a local hospital. So that is, of course, for law enforcement, that scenario is all hands on deck. We understand that the ambulances and the paramedics are all staging underneath the freeway, so that's going to be what you're seeing right there. And we haven't seen any of them make a move actually towards the bar yet.
Stu, actually, we were showing freelance video as you were talking, along with your aerials, and that freelance video showed people from the bar carrying at least one victim to an ambulance. So while the ambulances may not have been able to come in, they have certainly run people out. This was early on. The first entry, by the way, from our assignment desk, 11:31, when we first found out that this shooting had happened. And there, we're showing you again. There's that video from a stringer from a freelance.
So it took me a long time to wake up
3 people
with all those sirens
to the back of an ambulance.
And so far, we haven't heard of, this from the bulletin when it first went out said multiple injuries. We do not know at this time the extent of those injuries and if people were actually transported to hospitals. I believe you had mentioned, Stu, of course, there's that Los Robles hospital.
Because I took some valerian, guys. I took some valerian about, I don't know, about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours ago. So I didn't wake up very easy to all this, although the sirens didn't go away. So I woke up and, this is what's going on.
Now, it's like there's so much information, and we got to be careful on what we say and what we repeat because we're not getting any kind of confirmation one way or another. The information coming in is it's complete opposite spectrums of the pendulum here. Some folks are saying that the officer that there was multiple shots fired and the officer not in good shape, and then obviously we were hearing that the officer is in good shape. So right now it all is still, we're waiting. It's a very fluid situation. You heard that information earlier on. Possibly folks hiding in the attic. I don't know how they made their way into the attic of the bar, but that's a possibility. That's some of the information we're hearing. Other information makes a little bit more sense. People hiding in restrooms in there. But right now we've only seen a couple of folks being escorted out of the building. Every now and then you'll see law enforcement like that deputy right there making their way out, and then a couple of others making their way in, but we know the search is still ongoing. And of course we are, I am on pins and needles wanting to get the information, get some solid information now, because I'm hearing conflicting reports on that officer. I'd like to get some solid answers myself. We can only report on what we actually see right now, and we've counted 4 folks being taken out of the building since we've been here, and then some of these, like you pointed out, some of these officers still have a very tense stance, and others very relaxed. So it's probably depending on the information that they're getting and how these first responders are reacting to the situation.
Building yet? You noticed you told us that a canine went in not long ago.
I haven't seen it.
Man, sometimes it's a drag when I hear them say they're going to send canine in, because I am afraid the dog may get shot. I love dogs. So
a lot of IFB issues today, but you can see some of these first responder paramedics making their way over to that body that is laying out towards the front. Now, originally, this is what I'm saying. Originally, we were told that was a suspect, and now there's a question that may actually be a bouncer that was employed at this bar and grill. So all we can say is that there is a person down in the front of the building. You can see paramedics right now. These are going to be sheriff's paramedics making their way over there to secure the scene. See if that
bouncer is still sitting there.
That they can
I'm not sure somebody can be alive just sitting there.
Suspect, because we don't know if it's a suspect or a victim. but you can see that they are rendering some sort of aid to their checking.
He might be dead, literally, because otherwise they'd have to run him over to an ambulance.
Just the general body language that we saw earlier on, I would say that that person right there has passed away. So right now, it's still a situation where it's search and rescue, and of course, we are waiting to see if we can get a confirmation if the gunman, if it's plural or singular, if that person has been neutralized, or if there is still a threat here at this bar.
Yeah, very difficult to tell from what we're looking at. It's also one thing to point out, when you said sheriff paramedics, there are, in fact, as you just reported, some sheriff's department, both LA County and Ventura County, deputies who are paramedics, and they tend to be on the tactical team, the SCB team, the SWAT team, so they can render aid to one another if necessary during a tactical or during a tactical movement. They also can render aid to victims or to the suspect, and yet they are armed. They do have the ability to defend themselves.
You know, Stu, can you tell us?
Definitely.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Pat.
I was going to ask you if you could see the back of the building and if there has been any...
Very, very dark back there.
All right.
We saw earlier on when we first arrived, we could make out that there were vehicles in the back of the building, but extremely dark back in that area, and it continues to stay that type of dark. More first responders making their way into the building right now, and also paramedics. So to me, that is hopefully, I'm still hopeful that this is that the numbers are not going to be so devastating, but you can see that their reaction. They're not carrying any kind of gurneys. We don't see anything to do any kind of transport. So, but again, we're seeing some of the paramedics making their way in. So there must be areas inside there that have been secured, and that the law enforcement feels that it's safe enough for the paramedics and fire department to make their way in. Again, though, this is a shooting. It came out originally as a mass shooting at a bar and grill out here in Thousand Oaks, and right now, very fluid situation.
What two corners is it on, damn it?
With some of the original,
I think it's nearby here.
That person in the front of the building probably going to be the suspect, just because of the fact that the SWAT paramedics were making their way over to that person, right. Not the civilian paramedics. So my guess is that was a suspect, and that suspect beyond any type of aid. And right now, what's going on inside that building is really anybody's guess, but we definitely are hopeful that the information is going to be good and not bad.
No, that was a good observation, that it was the SWAT paramedic that was actually looking at that person that could give this a sign of who that could possibly be. Or what
okay, so it's probably not a bouncer, it's probably the shooter.
The reason I was asking about the back of the building was just to see if possibly they have tried to enter through the back, but it seems like all the activity is going on in the front of this building. And why is there a particular reason that they would just concentrate on the front of this building? I mean, there's got to be a back door. I would think there's more than one entrance and exit.
Well, it's the cleared entrance and the cleared exit. So you secure one exit, and that's what you want to use, rather than try to secure and clear all the other exits.
But however, well, you see the officers on the side of the building there. I mean, if there's a way to get in and secure the back, that would also, I mean, you want to get in the building.
Well, yeah.
Once you know,
and they are
you want to see how many people, how responsible. So that's why I asked you that question, Stu, because it would seem to me that you would...
Yeah, definitely. They're going to keep an eye on every door, and that might have been one of the reasons why they didn't just rush into that front door. And what Jeff was saying makes perfect sense. As also is that they're going to make sure that they're safe. They're going to make sure that if there's a suspect still loose, that suspect is going to be at least contained. Right. So of course they're going to double check. They're going to make sure that any exit or any entrance is going to be covered. That backside though is very, very dark, and I have to wonder, there may not be a door there may be a window, but it really seems like a lot of this building is just a couple of doors, a couple of roll-up doors right there. You can see another deputy making their way into what I would consider the service entrance, probably where they bring in the food. And then of course it looks like, I can't say for sure, but it definitely looks like there's a roll-up door right there as well. So they do have deputies at this location now, and they were here earlier on just covering that door. Now that door is definitely open. You saw a deputy walking in with a very casual stance. So I would be guessing that what's going on inside that building right now, not an active shooter anymore. Hopefully they are able to, if there are victims, they're going to be rendering aid, and they are looking for, like you mentioned, they were saying that earlier on, reports of people hiding in the attic.
Well, Stu,
seems to be.
Let me just interrupt for a minute, because I just finished looking at a video inside the Borderline Bar and Grill, and one of the problems here is that it is almost as dark inside that building when business is happening as it is outside. It's all mood lighting. There is an open attic, so people could hop on the bar and pull themselves up and climb into the rafters. It's more of a rafter situation for the, that's part of the, if you will, the architecture of the inside of the building, that it is an actual attic. Then you can go into the attic from there. But so even when officers get in, they have the difficulty of trying to provide enough light so they can see. All right, now
we have, didn't want to interrupt you there,
No,
Jeff,
go ahead.
but we do have some sound from a witness, and that's, we'd like to have our viewers take a listen, and we'd like to hear and see that as well. So as soon as we can get that ready for you, we're going to roll on that.
Okay, let's go.
What's going on in there?
Everyone was hanging out. All of a sudden we heard a bunch of shots, obviously from a semi-automatic rifle. The police showed up, 3 of them went to the door. Currently there's 1 officer down as they were breaching the front entrance. The other 2 pulled out. 1 I think is still in there, and now that I think about it, there's probably 2 officers down, because only 1 came out. So they both pulled out. He's still holed up inside.
What's the guy look like?
I don't know. I haven't seen him.
Well, that certainly sounds different than what we've heard, that there were 2 officers,
Who breached the front entrance.
and that 1 came out and the other did not.
Did not.
Of course, we don't know for sure. That is a
No,
witness,
2 didn't come out.
Civilian
1
giving
did.
that particular account.
And also, that was earlier. That we got that interview segment from what is probably now a good almost hour ago. So that's what it was like then. That doesn't necessarily confirm what it's like now.
No, but you do get an idea.
No,
The reason we wanted to play that is you do get an idea from someone who was there what it was like when this first happened.
Yeah.
Very, very frightening, I'm sure. Stu, can you tell us what's going on now from what you can see?
We're still watching, with keeping an eye on what's going on down there. But we listened to that little clip right there, and of course it must have been chaotic, to say the least. And that in these type of situations, everybody sees a portion of what's going on. It looks like another medic making their way into the building, and it was interesting too. It's like you guys were saying earlier on, both of you, that like these folks were, a lot of these first responders are people that live in the area, law enforcement that lives in the area.
Yep.
That person that just went in was wearing a flannel and a t-shirt, but he definitely had a backpack with him, a medic's backpack, and of course they weren't going to let any civilian make their way inside that building. And again, there's another officer that's walking in that wearing basically street clothes. So what Jeff was talking about earlier on, I totally agree with that. This is probably these are probably officers that live in the area, that are first responders that made their way out here to assist in this situation, and now they're being utilized. They're inside, they're rendering aid, and it's probably assisting in that search and rescue.
Well, we know that officers from Simi Valley made their way there, and that is one of the largest concentration of police officers in terms of where they live in our area, from what I understand. In fact, that's a fact. There are a lot of police officers that make their homes in Simi Valley, so I wouldn't be surprised if a number of officers arrived on the scene from there. Now we see some of these responders coming out, walking,
Firefighters.
casually.
Firefighters, and they're making their way over to that other this person. We don't know if that's the suspect and or a bouncer. They're going to pretty much, I'm sure, just double check what the the SWAT paramedics or the law enforcement paramedics confirmed earlier on. So they're going to keep away from that shot right now. But it does appear that at least one person down in front of the building. We're not sure if that is the shooter or now was. And then later on, it came up that it may actually be one of the bouncers out here. But definitely one person passed away outside the building. One law enforcement officer. We hear that that person was shot. Our desk is working to get confirmation on that. But right now, like again, very fluid situation. We're just kind of watching, trying to pick up as much as we can visually, and then of course we're up here, we're working the radios as well, trying to get any kind of information that we can pass along to the public.
Well, just a couple of things in observation. One from the...
Up, another victim.
Yep, you're right. Once again, arms up until they make sure they know who that person is. Now arms down. That's a female.
Looks like a young lady.
I was about to say, it seemed like they may have had the inside fairly cleared, because you have, you know, firefighters and officers or sheriff deputies walking out,
without themselves.
Right.
That was my next question too, is have you seen anybody else being brought out of the building? And again, the fortunate thing that we've seen so far is that people are walking out on their own.
Yes, yes.
With little to no assistance at all.
Well, and back to what the fellow spoke about, the interviewee that we had about an hour, maybe 45 minutes ago. He said it was semi-automatic gunfire. He sounded like someone who knew the distinction between fully automatic and semi-automatic gunfire. If that is the case, that merely means that you can continue to fire as fast as your finger can move. It's not the kind of fire where you can you can fire 30 rounds a second.
Continuously.
And fully automatic gunfire is something that can take out an entire bar. So that may be good news if he is correct.
And then again, we don't know. We haven't heard about any reports of any weapons being found, whether it be an Uzi or smoke grenades. Stu, I don't remember you saying that you saw any smoke. So even if this person, go ahead.
We did not. When we arrived here, the officers, the first responding officers, were still making their game plan. We were watching as a couple of them basically ran the perimeter of the building. They went around the backside as well. They were checking doors, but they were very tense in their stance, moving very, very quickly, communicating with other officers that were heavily armed with body armor and weapons in the area. But it was very much a search and secure type of situation. Right now, though, you can see the motions and how these first responders are walking around, very casual. They're allowing the fire department and paramedics walking around. But right now, the tenseness is over. What happened inside that building is still a question at least to us up here in the helicopter.
Exactly. All right, so we're about where we were in terms of just moments ago, Stu, when we talked about the first responders and law enforcement.
They don't even got a helicopter flying over there, I don't think.
Less tense, walking into that building. We're looking at pictures now, I guess. Those look like other people that could have been inside, just citizens or people in the bar walking casually. Is that an officer walking with them?
Yeah, that's an officer walking with that person.
But we haven't seen anybody, thank goodness, so far that has had what we deemed to be multiple injuries walking out of that building.
All right, guys, I'm going to let this be. I don't know, what's going on, but I'll find out. I'm going to find out where the bar is and stuff.
People are going to be,
and if I look like I just woke up, I did. Anyway, I'll let you know what's going on. It looks like the area's calmed down. I can't tell you this, they sure had a lot of police show up with no helicopter. I mean, not one helicopter showed up, so I'm not sure about that. All those police, not one helicopter.
Try to get that signal.
So anyway, I'll talk to you later.
To you as soon as possible.